Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and you know what time it is. Well, we're a little bit late this morning, completely my fault. I had a little technical glitch on my end, but we are ready to rock and roll. Hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. Mark, I'm going to hit the brand. Why don't we just start the show and dive into everything that we have to talk about?
Sounds good.
Today.
Let's go.
All right, welcome back to Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to sell effectively in today's marketplace. Now, Mark is going to tell you what is on tap for today, and we have a great show. But I always like to tell you how the show works. We start off every single session with a question from you, the audience. To cover a topic, we recommend a book. And because we want you to leave with return on investment, maximize your time, we leave you with a lightning round, those strategies that you can implement immediately. So, Mark, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about cold call. Wow. Hey, what is the best technique for the art of the cold call? The question comes from a listener last week. Dr. Annie Shin says, hey, what are some tips to overcome the fear of cold calling and how to maximize results? Why don't you go? Well, you know what? I'm going to drop it into the Sales Logic brain here, and we'll see what the Sales Logic brain says. But in the meantime, why don't you tell us some things?
Well, I've got to tell you, and Mark and I may fall really differently on this, but I'm not a big fan of the cold call in the traditional way that we think of the cold call. If you are literally calling to try to get business, I think that cold calling is going to be a really tough way to grow business. So I think to overcome your fears of cold calling and to deal with some of those challenges, number one is you got to get really clear on who you're cold calling on, who is your avatar, and make sure that your cold calls align with that person. The second piece of that is you need to clearly understand, really deeply and intimately understand what the challenges are that avatar is facing, because that is how you're going to begin the cold calling process, not by looking for business, by reaching out and letting them know you can solve a problem.
Hey, you know what? You thought we were going to be different. We're not that much different.
Cool.
No,
Okay.
because here's the thing. Cold calling, who wants to be cold called? I don't want to be calling anybody unless I can absolutely know that I can help them. And that goes right back to what you talked about, your avatar. It is so critical, your avatar. Hey, I dropped this into the Sales Logic brain, and it came back with 12 things that you should be doing. And it's amazing, but what's echoing through? Believe in what you're doing. It's confidence. You see, here's the whole thing. And this is where you and I are really in agreement. You just can't call random people, because how would you know you're going to have the ability to help them? You're not going to. But when you believe that you can truly help someone because they line up with your avatar, you know, you've been able to demonstrate this to other people similar like them. You've been able to show results. You owe it to that person to reach out to them. That's just being absolutely positive and believing that you can make a difference. But hey, you know what? When you do make a call like that, and that's why I say it's not a cold call, it's a warm call. They don't know you, but you know you can help them. But here's the whole thing. Like you said, you got to be relevant. It has to be relevant. And Sales Logic Brain goes through so many pieces here. And one of the things that echoes is what you talk about a lot. Follow up, follow up, follow up. You got to be following up, because one call is not going to make the sale for you. It's just not, because, you know, if I didn't know you, Mary, and you called me, I'd ignore you.
Exactly.
In fact, sometimes I ignore you. No, I would never say that. So anyway, how about some other thoughts from you?
Well, I'm curious. Do you cold call?
Yeah, yes, I do, but they're not cold calls. They are warm calls. In other words, it might be an association that I spoke to. Okay, so then there are people who I see who are active members in that group. Okay, so then wait a minute, I want to call and introduce myself to them. I believe that I can help them. So, you know, is that a cold call? Yes, because I don't know them. Is there an alarm call? Yes, because they're part of a trade association that I've done work with. So yes, I need to be reaching out to them. So I don't view that as a cold call. I view that
Yeah.
as a phone call. I called a gentleman yesterday, and person said, "Hey, you need to reach out to this person." I didn't know him from Adam. And it wound up being an absolutely fantastic call. We've already arranged lunch in a couple of weeks. And yeah, it works. But have a reason for the call. That's what's key.
Yeah, I think that is really, really key. Good morning, Jack Hubbard. We are talking about cold calling. Would love to have your thoughts on here. And Dawn, so fantastic. It feels good to be here. It feels good to have you here this morning. I've got to tell you that I cold call quite a bit. I really do. And in fact, I'm just sitting here thinking about it and just said I'm not a fan of the cold call. And then I realized how much I do cold call. But there's a couple of things that go with the cold call. Number one is I think what you said is so incredibly key. And that is that I have a reason to call. I really believe that I am on a mission in life. I want people to believe that uncertainty leads to opportunity. So I am cold calling with my heart, not my head. I want to reach out and I want to help people. The other is I'm not expecting anything in return. I'm not even expecting a response in return because I don't know the chances that I'm going to interact with somebody at the exact moment that they need or want the service that I've got. The other is that, to use Mark's language, I'm starting a relationship. I'm just starting the connection. I don't even know yet if they're a good fit for what I have to offer.
I love what you're saying there because you said you were on a mission. And that's one thing. When you're on a mission, you absolutely believe in the outcome you can create. And if you're making calls just for the sake of trying to get money, that's commission breath, in the words of our good friend Larry Levine. That's not going to be successful. I don't want you to make those calls. But if you truly believe, I tell audiences all the time, if you know that you can help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. And if you don't reach out to them, you're doing them a disservice. Think about that for a moment. Those are powerful words. But that whole mission, we owe it to people because we know we can help them. See, so it comes back to a level of confidence. You have to have a level of confidence to make the call because you've been able to achieve outcomes with other people you've been able to work with. Yes. Yeah. I love Debbie's comments. Call to retain relationship with clients who is already using our products. Yes. Again, what's so interesting? I think all of us have got customers who we've done business with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, who unfortunately have fallen off the radar screen. Guess what would happen if we were to reach out to them? That's basically a cold call because wow, we've got a relationship with them. Let's reestablish that. We don't spend enough time creating relationships in sales.
Yeah, I think that, I want to put Jack Hubbard's comment up here. I've never made a cold call and never will. I do make unexpected calls to people I've had previous conversations with, and I always try to leave more than I take. Such great advice. And Jack, I never made a cold call before I became a professional speaker. And this is one of the most unusual industries I've ever been in the sense that it's hard when the majority of how you make a living is speaking on a stage. You only speak one time really, and then I might refer it to Mark or something like that, because the chances, even if I rock to the stage, that they're going to bring me back next year are kind of slim to none because they need to, have fresh ideas in there. So this is the only industry I've ever called in, but more and more and more, I do a lot of cold calling, and this may work for those of you who have to cold call. But if I have helped one person in that industry, I will cold call others in that industry with the results of how I helped those that are like them. Because I think the resistance to a cold call is I don't know who you are, I don't know what you offer, and I don't know why I should give you my time. And I think far too often, salespeople try to sell first without helping me understand the value that I am going to get for return if I give you my time. Is it worth it for me to give you my time?
That is so spot on. Several things that you said there are so critical. And that one in particular, people call and they just start barking. They just start barking and they start telling you, hold it. The art of the call is listening. Listen to the customer to establish their relationship. And we take the time to establish their relationship. It is amazing at what will happen. But it's not picking up the phone and saying, now I'm going to go back to this whole thing on cold calling. I think cold calling, when you say I got to make cold calls, it automatically just something in your brain just locks up. That's why I like to use the word I'm warm calling. I'm warm calling because I know I can help this person. And I tell anybody who's struggling with calling, what you want to do is you want to have a piece of paper right by your phone of all of the outcomes that you've helped other customers achieve, all the successes. I've said this time and time again, but just looking at that list, it gives you the motivation to sit there and say, hey, I can help somebody else. Sales is a helping business. Sales is not a taking business. And that's so key.
Yeah, I love what Thomas is saying here. Are we talking about only calling on the phone, or are we talking stopping into a random business or knocking on the door as well? I think, Thomas, we're talking about any way that you can touch base with people. Mark and I are getting ready to go to a meeting in New Mexico, and we're going to be in Albuquerque. And I went through my contacts and I found about 4 contacts that I've got with speaking engagements I've been trying to land where the person is housed out of New Mexico. And then I've got a connection that I met at a conference that I did for Jack Hubbard. Diana Jack Orrick now lives in Albuquerque, and she and I are going to get together while I'm out there. So I think knocking on the door, I think sending emails, I think those things all really, really, really work.
There is no reason why what we're talking about doesn't apply to anything. Can you do random door knocking? Yes, you can. If you know that this is a business that you can help. Now, again, for a lot of businesses, it may be hard to physically get in because of security, et cetera, et cetera. But it's no different than if you meet somebody at a country club, you meet somebody at a Starbucks, you meet somebody in a restaurant. You can strike up or on an airplane, you can strike up a conversation anywhere. Because again, it's about helping people, not taking from people. You are contributing to them by helping them. And when you have that attitude, it changes everything. This is why I say, sales is not a job. It's not a profession. Sales is a lifestyle, because it's a lifestyle of helping people. And what you're doing, Mayor, absolutely spot on. You're going to be in a city. Who are some contacts I can reach out to? This is something we all need to do. This goes back to that old expression, 3 doors left, 3 doors right. If you've got an appointment with one business, you knock on 3 doors left, 3 doors right. And again, now, what's wrong with that? Nothing. You may say, I don't know much about the business. I don't care. It's all you're looking for is to see if there's a conversation. And if there isn't, so be it. It's okay. I don't worry about it. If people who I call, who I don't really know, and I'm positioning it as a warm call in my head, if they hang up on me, if they don't respond, I don't care. That's okay. I'll just come back and try it again later. Just move on. Next.
Hey, Wendy, I love this. I love the fact that you're here because you saw me speak at Marshberry last week. And you're absolutely right. These messages and everything that we talk about in the show really works across all channels. I want to talk a moment about the fact that, honestly, we're talking about cold calling today. But when you are calling in general, listen, you have got to get your heart right. You really, really have to believe in what you're doing. And let me give you a quick story on this. Years ago, I waited tables and I tended bar. And for years, I did it until I was 32 years old. I worked a second job. I might have been 35 by the time I quit. And because of that, I was really good at waiting tables and really good at tending bar. People would always say, you should go into sales. So I don't know if you all remember this, but years ago when you used to be at the beach, somebody would be on the boulevard handing you cards to go to a timeshare. If you just would look at this property, you'd get a toaster or a microwave or something. And this couple would come into my bar all the time and try to talk me into doing this. And finally I was like, okay, you're making a load of money. I'll do it. So I go report to work to this timeshare, and literally we are cold calling people in their hotel room to come look at a property that was not what we were saying it was, and giving them a toaster. Add to that, if the hotel answered the phone, we had to hang up because you weren't allowed to do that. I failed miserably. And I failed miserably because I thought I wouldn't want to be bothered on vacation. This property is not what we are telling people we say it's going to do. So what I want you to understand is, if you're bad at sales, it's probably because you don't believe in what you're selling. And the moment you believe in what you're selling, you would stand on a little soapbox in the middle of wherever you live and talk about it, because like, I believe in what I do because I believe I can help people. Mark and I are here with the show because we want you to be more effective. So you've got to get that piece right. Do your homework there, and everything else is going to take care of itself.
That's absolutely. Dave Sanderson, you've nailed the comment. You know, it says, you know, hey, back in there. Anyway, Dave said, it's not about our significance. It's about their significance. This is so critical. You have to believe. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit on the product. I'm going to back up, because here's the whole thing. You may not necessarily believe 100% in your product, but what I want you to do is I want you to believe in the outcome that you're creating for the customer. In other words, the outcome. What is the outcome? Because at the end of the day, customers aren't buying a widget. They're buying something that the widget's going to help them achieve. And to me, that is about really doing a service for the customer. But you can't do that unless you firmly believe it's their significance. It's not you. It's their significance. I firmly believe it's the reason I struggled in my first 2 sales jobs, because I was treating it just as my job is just to collect money. My job is just to take money. And until you believe in the customer and truly helping the customer, you are not going to be successful. But it's amazing, because you make phone calls today. I make phone calls today, and we have no problem making them. And we almost wonder, why do people struggle? Why do people struggle? Because we believe in what we can do.
Yeah. I love the fact that John Register uses BombBomb hosting his own showcase. Love what Patrick Tinney says here. In sales, we must ask ourselves, are we living our brand? Patrick, I am right with you. I do have to believe my product is the best. And I do have to believe in it. If I thought there was a better solution than what I was offering, I can't sell it. And I find that so interesting, because I think of myself as a really good salesperson, but you put me over the wrong product, and I learned really quickly, that I wasn't. But Mark, we are burning time here. What is our book for today?
Yeah, our book comes from our friend Joanne Black, No More Cold Calling.
Yeah. Joanne Black is probably the premier networker on the planet. I mean, I heard of Joanne long before I ever really got into the sales profession. But if you want to go the way of Guru Jack Hubbard, and you want to go the way of our other guru here, Mark Hunter, and really talking about the warm call, check out Joanne Black's book, No More Cold Calling, because it really, really focuses on how to build your network so that it makes sales easy. And I do think, Mark, we should probably do a show on this, is that networking really is the new cold call. That is the mindset you should have when you cold call.
Oh, I love that approach. Like I said, that gentleman I called yesterday, I didn't know, but it was somebody else had said, who I had met only one time. And she had said, hey, you need to call this person. So I did. And again, that was all because of networking. Joanne Black, she is so blunt. She is so in your face, but she has really developed a program around how to take networking and turn it into sales. So yes, definitely a great book to read. Hey, we should talk about the Sales Logic webinar we got coming up on March 13th.
Yeah. It's going to be a powerful webinar. Go ahead, Mark.
It is going to be a powerful. And as I'm talking here, I'm going to try to put the link into the show notes or into the comment section, because again, we want you to register. It's March 13th, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to go through 5 magic strategies that are going to absolutely turn your business around. So, hey, check that out. Hey, the lightning round. Are you ready for the lightning round?
I am.
Lightning round. Best strategies to eliminate fear.
Number one, sell to yourself first. Really believe. And, I used to have a professional speaker friend who said that the longest 18 inches in the world is from your head to your heart. But when you can get it into your heart, your fear will be eliminated.
Absolutely. And to do that, what you do is you write down every outcome, every success story that you've had with every customer ever. Just write it down on a piece of paper and keep it in front of you and review it every morning as you start your day.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things to reduce fear is to just do it. Train your body to just do it. Don't think about it. Don't put it off. Just say, first thing this morning, I'm going to make 3 calls. Just do it.
And when you do that, you time block your calendar. So this is the time block on my calendar that I'm going to cold call. This is the one I'm going to call. And remember, when you're calling, it's not thinking about calling. It's actually making the calls. There's preparation you have to do. You do it at a separate time, because otherwise the time you set aside to call, you'll just spend time thinking about it. Customer's not thinking about you.
Yeah. Cold call into the mirror, or cold call to your puppy dog. Like, practice cold calling. Practice so that it starts to feel natural and it starts to feel comfortable.
What you're doing is you're doing activities. You're doing reps. It's like going to the gym. Your objective is to make 5 calls or 10 calls, whatever. Don't necessarily expect results. It's not going to happen. It's the activities. But when you get consistent with the activities, in time, you'll begin seeing results.
Yeah. Number 7 is, I would say that don't worry about being perfect. I called somebody the other day and I was so tired. I'd been traveling so much, and I used their last name as their first name. It was one of those, their last name was Keith. And I made a phone call and I called them Keith. I sent an email and I called them Keith. And then I noticed in my Zoho, my CRM, that I'd done it wrong. Oh, well, I mean, who cares? Like, at least I took the activity. So you're going to screw up. It's fine.
If the customer doesn't respond, hey, don't worry about it. You just reach back out to them again at a later time. Don't overanalyze. Don't overthink. Just go through the motions.
Yeah, give yourself a reward. I think that's a great way for getting over fear. I'm not allowed to play tennis in the morning. I'm not allowed to play golf until I make three calls. And so getting that reward kind of motivates me to do it.
Nobody has ever been harmed. Nobody has ever been bloodied. Nobody's ever lost an arm or anything like that due to making sales calls. It is an experience, and it is you just do it, because here at the end of the day, what are you doing? You're helping customers. Hey, we want to remind you again, make sure you hit that link that I put in the comments section to get registered for the webinar March 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, because Meridith and I are going to share with you 5 strategies to help your business right away. And hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes a competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
Yes, it will be sign up. It will be recorded, Wendy. So join us there. All right. I will not mess this up this time next week. Join us right back here, 8 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. You can trust, if something goes awry with Sales Logic Podcast, it was my fault, not Barb's fault. You can pretty much guarantee that.
Hey, don't worry about it. I make plenty of mistakes. So, okay.
All right. Thank you all. We will see you right back here next week. You are an amazing audience. I don't know what we would do without you, but thank you once again for joining us. Remember, if you've got a question, reach out to Mark, reach out to me, or just go to saleslogicpodcast.com, because we'll feature you right here. All right. Have a great week.